Today we are going to build a very simple freestanding climbing wall. So we're gonna build this outside. It's gonna be specially designed for a systems board like the Kilter home wall. This is gonna be done out of scraps, but with a twist. My son Bear is gonna be the one that's building it. Anything big like this before?
Only that.
He built those pull-up bars, that pull-up bar right there. I'm gonna still be able to show you some tricks. Here's this. Let's get going. The build plans call out 2x6s as the widest piece of lumber in this, and I've got a whole bunch of 2x10s back here because I want this to be exactly the way that you guys would build it using the 2x6s. We're gonna pull a bunch of this stuff off and rip it down so it's the same dimensions as a 2x6. I think we're ready to start going. We need to get the tools out and we'll start cutting. So before we get going, I want to talk a little bit about safety concerns because the circular saw is the tool that I've known the most people to get hurt with and really hurt. If you are not used to using a circular saw, like a skill saw, maybe you should have somebody come along that knows that tool a little bit that can give you a hand in learning that. Pay very close attention. Always stand braced off, right?
Yeah.
Know that if that kicks back at you, you're gonna try to direct that saw away from your body. Of course you wanna stop it and you wanna lay off of the trigger. You're gonna do that. Do not drop the saw. I'm not gonna cut like this. I'm not gonna cut like this. I mean, this is obviously a bad thing, right? Like if I'm right here, I'm gonna lose my fingers. I'm also gonna be, when that saw kicks back, it's gonna be more likely to kick back into me if I'm standing here. Be careful, Bear. Tricks with the speed square. I'm gonna check to see if this is square. I've squared it up, so this is nice and square. If it wasn't square, I would come in here with my speed square, hold it on, and then just use this as a fence up against the sled here, and you'll cut just a little bit off of the end so it's nice and square. In these instructions, I made it a lot more simple for you. So come from this point right here, and over here you're gonna come an 1.5 inches back and make that line. Over 5.5 inches, 1.5 inches back, that's a 15-degree angle. Now, if you want, put your speed square right here, and you're gonna bring this up. There's some markings on the outside. You see these markings, Bear?
I do.
Okay, so we're gonna bring this up. So on this edge here, it now says 15, right? We're right on it. Make just a mark on the end. We're gonna come in here. Now I'm gonna measure. See that? It's exactly 1.5 inches. So we know that we can make that line. That's our first cut.
Where do you want it?
I'm not the one building it. Where do you want it?
You're the grown-up. Where do you want it?
Dang it, grown-up problems. Ooh, This is your first project. I would encourage you, as you're making all these cuts, to take a Sharpie or a pencil and mark the lengths on your boards. That way you can quickly reference which boards go what as you're going through the build process. He's figuring it out. Woo, this is hard to walk with. I got, So I'm just gonna come back over here to the shady spot, hence I've got the jacket back on, and start clearing out the space for our climbing wall to live. Well, I think that looks a little bit better. I'm also gonna set it on brick and we're gonna stake it down after it's all done. Let's go check on my son and see how he's doing. Oh, he's done! He's done with the main frame. Look at that. How was it?
It was annoying at first, but then everything fell into place.
You weren't following the instructions, were you?
Not all the way.
Okay.
But
Would it have been easier if you had followed the instructions?
yeah, I forgot that there was this small board in the center, so I measured it with this one that way. So that was one mistake.
Couple mistakes, but look, it's done.
Yes, it is done.
I want to just show you a couple of tricks on how to toenail a screw. So a lot of times when you toenail a screw, it can split the wood. So you're going to start it like this, and then as it starts to grab, tip it up. But as you see, that just completely ate that up, and the screw is already out. So to avoid that, a real quick, easy way, and you can get it better without doing this trick, but this trick is going to just make your life a lot better. You're going to take a spade bit or paddle bit like this, and you're going to go in, you're going to start it just like you were starting a screw for the toenail. Once that's started, you're going to tip it up as you're drilling, okay? Like this. You see how that started to eat into the top there? Now when I put my screw in, my screw is going to have a nice flat spot to clamp down on that piece of wood. One of the reasons why we are putting these toe-nailed screws in is to just hold everything in place as we build it. And it does give a little bit of strength, but not much. These babies give it a lot of strength, and then the plywood that goes on top of that is going to give it a lot of strength as well. I do believe that this is going to be just a simple one-day build, but it is the next day for us. So we're working on finishing up the legs. One of the things that's slowing us down a little bit, which is to be expected, is gathering up all of the scrap material. If you're using secondhand material, it's going to take you a little bit longer, but for us, right now, that's worth it. So we're working on these legs. Once you have the first one built, you can lay out the second one right on top of it. We're going to pound in these connector plates right here. Just going to make it really strong, and we are just using a hammer to pound those in, biggest hammer you got, and just go slow with it. Okay, Bear pointed out that we do have a bigger hammer than this, but this hammer is big enough. All right, go ahead. So get one side in and then just work it over to the other side. So it's not as pretty as if you were to press these in, but I think it's going to do a pretty good job. And we're also going to put on plywood over this as well. So I think it's going to add a lot of strength. Now when you're putting this on, it's really important that the bottom is flush all the way. So start on one end, then go to the middle, then go to the other end. Before you drive that in, make sure it's nice and flush. If your screw is angled, it's going to pull it, so try to go straight with your first screw. See how this board is now a little high?
Yeah.
So now you can drag it down a little bit. Yeah, you can put that in, now you can just go. So now we got it flush on one end, middle, and the other end. Now you just throw in your screws all the way around. Approximately every 12 inches, both top and bottom. So you're going to be putting in 2 screws every foot to make sure that this is nice and secure and working together as one. It makes it super strong. Next up, we gotta cut the wood panels because we didn't do that yet.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on it.
Nothing's perfect.
I'm shooting a video. It's recording right now. Okay, we have a 4x4 sheet of plywood here. Because we're using scraps, the other half of this sheet would have been used for the climbing wall, but I'm using it for something else, and we're gonna run a 2-foot by 8-foot piece across the middle. That's not gonna make any difference for you guys. Take that other sheet of 4x4, you're gonna cut it in half, and those are gonna be your middle pieces. That's the only difference here. I think that this is probably gonna be the hardest part as far as cutting goes. What you're gonna need a tape measure. You don't need a speed square, but we're gonna keep it handy just in case. A pencil and a straight edge, which I'm using a piece of scrap plywood for a straight edge. You can also use, what are those things called? Levels, a 4-foot level. But one last thing is gonna be the build plans. Do you got the build plans?
I do not with me right now.
All right, let's find those build plans. We're gonna get that out and start laying out the measurements on this board. This is a perfect opportunity for future self to shamelessly plug climberdad.com. Not only will you be supporting the channel if you buy these build plans, but it will allow you to build an awesome climbing wall like this one. Now, if you don't want to build anything, that's okay. I have some t-shirts as well. There's a t-shirt that says, "Climbing Chalk Saves Lives." Not only has it been shown to kill the coronavirus, but it will also kill the little pansy that lives inside of each of us that keeps us from living our life. I got these build plans out. Start marking it out. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer, but I'm just gonna watch. Why don't you guys go get on your screens? Go get on your screens. Right on the edge. Make sure it's right on the edge, because you're drawing to this point. Now that we're at this point, let's go ahead and we're gonna double check. This should mirror each other, so this measurement going down this line is 44 1/16-ish. This one is 44. So just slightly off. That's going to be okay though. Now, if it doesn't line up perfect, it's not going to be the end of the world. Unless you're selling it, of course. If you're selling it, it needs to look beautiful. So now that we've got one cut out, we've flipped it over. We've lined up this edge with this point right there. Thank you for moving. And then the bottom edge. And then now all we got to do is we got to make this cut along here, which Bear's going to trace out right now. This little cut, and then this little cut. So my son Bear has got all of the components built by himself. I may have helped with 1 or 2 of the cuts on the plywood just because he's not super used to having the circular saw. And if you are not used to using a circular saw, like a skill saw, maybe you should have somebody come along that knows that tool a little bit, that can give you a hand in learning that. I'm confident that he could build the rest of this wall. However, he has an event that was planned with his friends a while ago that he had to go to. So I get to take these components and I'm gonna set them up. I have these bricks laid out right here on the edge of the woods, nice and level, kind of, sort of squared off. What's kind of, sort of? Eyeball square. It'll be good enough. I'm gonna go ahead and start laying out these pieces. This goes to the outside. I would also recommend having another person because some of these components are kind of heavy. Oh, yeah, I don't even think you can see the top of that, but this is gonna be awesome. I'm also gonna lay down some plastic underneath it. That's gonna do two things. It's gonna help the brush, the wild thorny vines from growing up around it, and it's gonna keep the moisture from the ground coming up. That's just because I'm in a super humid climate. Let's move this camera back. Darn it. No. I messed up. I totally messed up. I gotta fix it now. I've got to go pick up my daughter. How was piano? Good. Just a little simple task, going and picking up the daughter from piano lessons, and then all of a sudden, the sun's gone. And speaking of sun's gone, my sun is still gone. That's okay. I'll get this done. Bye-bye. Look at that. It's beautiful.
Fun.
Wait, how tall is it going to be?
10 feet. So stinking? It stinks?
No, stinking cool.
Oh.
Like really cool.
Yeah. Well, there it is. Bear, I think you accomplished your goal. Good job. If you'd like to see what we do to weatherproof this climbing wall, stick around because I'll be showing that in another video. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time right here on Climber Dad. Start climbing.